The Burlington County Chamber of Commerce presents the first in a series of Lunch and Learn seminar video podcasts. In this program, Effective Public Speaking with Dillon Marcus, recorded February 15th, 2011. Dillon Marcus is the co-author of It's Okay to Play, 30 Days to a Ridiculously Wonderful Life. A highly respected businesswoman, she cut her organizational development teeth at GE Capital, incorporating the technology of play into her projects. She's the president of Dillon Marcus Executive Retreats, a strategic thinker and entrepreneur.
You know, it's not always easy introducing somebody or saying nice things about it. If you ever were, the best man at a wedding or had to say something at a retirement dinner, I think it can be pretty challenging. And I was recently at a friend's wedding, and it happened to be a second marriage. It was at this beautiful country club, outside, gorgeous day. Then after the ceremony took place, we all went inside and had a reception. And then it came time for the best man to give, the speech, right? Which always a highlight. I know, for me, that's always an interesting part of a wedding. And so the best man actually happened to be his son. And his son was about 10, 11 years old. And I thought, wow, that's a big deal, I'm thinking, I was wondering, as somebody who's interested in communication and interested in, of course, this topic of storytelling and just how people say things. So his son, took the microphone and he said, my dad and I went fishing this morning on the day of his wedding. He goes, that's what kind of man my father is. And that was his speech. And I thought, wow. And the wedding was probably, 6 months ago. And I still remember his speech. And, so many things in my life had happened since then. And I still remember what kind of man this man is and what his son thought of him. And that is the power of telling stories, right? How long did it take him to tell that story? Right, a half a second, 2 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever it might be. But the impression is really memorable. And so today's session is about something I am extremely passionate about. I think it's one of the most underutilized business tools that we have at our fingertips. So whatever it is you're up to, whether you're selling solar panels or your design build firm or whatever it is that you're up to, I guarantee telling stories can absolutely play a part. Last week I had the opportunity to go visit Citizens Bank Park. Anybody here a Phillies fan? I wore my red today, right? A lot of expectations for the Phillies this year, right? If they can't pull it off with these pitchers, we're kind of all in trouble, right? So, and I recently came back from Florida. The buzz is big in Florida, and just the spring training tickets are hard to get. So we had the opportunity, we have my company has a CEO group. So we have a whole group of CEOs, and the whole purpose of it, it's called the Sounding Board. It's designed for CEOs who are typically a little bit isolated in their position, don't have other people to talk to about what's happening in their organization, who can sort of keep it private and to bounce things off. So that's the purpose of our Sounding Board. But one of the neat things about our Sounding Board is that we actually do, in addition to that, as part of the day, our get-togethers, is that we do something interesting. And so this was a field trip to Citizens Bank Park. And the guys were so excited. I think it was the only meeting that they were actually there early for, And so we got this great tour guide. His name was Ed. He was a retired government worker who actually just was a huge fan of the Phillies. Works in their press box, knows a lot about the Phillies, and was the absolutely perfect tour guide to take us around. So we're going all backstage of Citizens Bank Park, learning about how it was built, how they had to dig underground and figure out they went below the water table, just amazing things about the park. But the most memorable things for me was, well, in addition to sitting in the dugout, because, you sort of imagine yourself where the Phillies sit, is that we actually got to see the indoor batting cages where the Phillies practice batting. And I saw batting tees there. Now, I'm a baseball fan, but I'm not a fanatic about it. I like to watch it. And I kind of thought, well, what are the batting tees there for? And because I'm thinking, I have a young son, and he does, they start at T-ball, and that's supposed to be a very rudimentary way to start. And then once you're okay at T-ball, then it's coach pitch, and then it's, the teammates pitch. And so I'm thinking, what are the T's doing there? Are you guys, anybody's big fans of baseball, know what the T's are doing there? Yeah, for the fundamentals, absolutely. So Steve's absolutely right. For the fundamentals, I'm thinking, these like elite athletes, these, Major League Baseball players are actually hitting off of tees? I mean, to me, is anybody else surprised by that? Who doesn't follow baseball? I mean, I was flabbergasted. Like going back to the business fundamentals or their fundamentals. And so I thought to myself, what's a fundamental in my business? Like, what's the equivalent of hitting off of a tee? And there's probably more than one. But what rang true for me is absolutely is learning how to tell stories. Is listening, and the part of it is, too, is actually listening to people to hear their stories. So actually tuning in to somebody other than ourselves, which sometimes is hard to do, right? Even, admittedly, we're all trying to get our own to-do lists done and get things done, and sometimes it's hard to actually stop to tune in or to ask some of the questions where we actually learn from other people. So it's, one, first we have to listen, and then two, Grace, how are you? Please, no, it's good to see you. Yeah. Grace and I used to work together in, what, another lifetime?
Yeah.
Yeah, so good lifetime, though. So just as far as, I think storytelling is sort of the fundamentals of hitting off the tee. And while we were getting a tour of the Phillies stadium, we also heard from their head of sales. So she also addressed our CEO group. And one of the things she shared with us is how she found her job, how she got her job. I mean, she knew the job was available at the Phillies, and she knew a lot of people were applying for it. She's head of marketing and advertising. And she was thinking, how can I make myself stand out? And so she told us she went to a bakery. She had them bake cookies in the shape of baseballs. And on the top of the box, she put her resume. She had them send the cookies with her resume on top to the head of HR. And that's how she got noticed. That's how she got the interview. And of course she has to have the skill and has to be a fit and all of that. But in a world where we're all trying to sort of be noticed, and there's a lot of competition for being noticed, I thought that was a terrific story to tell, and one that also teaches. So the power of stories, as you probably know, because out of all the list of topics that are at the Burlington County Chamber of Commerce that are coming up, I mean, you're here. And so I'm guessing I'm speaking a little bit to the choir that this is something you believe in, because chances are if you think, oh, that's a bunch of hoo-ha, you would have picked something else to come to. Unless you like deli sandwiches and, right? So today we're going to actually explore and practice telling stories. And it's the session, I don't want you to be afraid of it. It's a whole lot of fun. So we're actually going to be talking about lessons that we've learned. And talking, and it's going to be short and quick, but I think you're going to see how powerful it is. Because it's one thing to talk about storytelling, and it's another thing to actually get some practice. And so the name of this is I Speak. And although you might think it's I Speak, meaning me, it's actually all of us that's in this room. So the bulk of the content of this session is actually going to come from all of us exploring and seeing how we can use storytelling to further what we're up to. Because I'm interested in what you're interested in terms of unleashing whatever potential you have in whatever it is that you want to do, so that you leave here feeling, wow, I can do more with my business, I can sell more, I can win people to my way of thinking, because now I understand how to use this. Sound good? Sound okay? Are you up for speaking? All right. So here is, quote, quote, the assignment, but we don't want to call it that. So I'm going to pass it down. So, Steve, if you could take one and... I teach business communication at Rutgers. And this is an exercise that we also do. And then we also, Rutgers, they have a program for high school students. And it's called BizEd, Business Education. And it's a fantastic week or 2 week long program where sophomores or juniors from high school actually come and get sort of college education for 2 weeks. So they were able to do it, and they did fantastic. So I've got a lot of confidence that we can pull this off. So I'm going to skip down to number 2, and it's the assignment is tell a 90-second story about a professional or personal lesson that you have learned. So it's just a lesson that you have learned. Now, it doesn't have to be the lesson of your life, or it could be. Do you know what I mean? It's not about getting it right. It's just about coming up and practicing telling a story. So there's some suggested topics. It could be the time you got your first job. I am clear the reason I got my first job is because I like sports and my middle name is Shannon. The guy who was hiring me, his daughter was named Shannon. He looked at my resume and said Tara Shannon, and that was it. So much for good grades and all of that, right? So a great boss, business etiquette, a favorite book or movie, the economy, cell phones or texting, parenting, our school system, social networking, the war in Iraq, great restaurants, an embarrassing moment, or any topic of your choice. So you get to pick. And there's some hints. First, review the list. What jumps out at you? The beauty of storytelling is we have been telling stories our entire lives. From, hey, Mom, guess what happened at school today, to recounting what happened at a sports event. We to telling a friend what just happened wherever you were at. I mean, we tell stories all day long. I'm not so certain that we tell them intentionally. And so I'm going to add some of the intention around storytelling into your, if it's not already there, into your consciousness, okay? So what jumps out at you? If it doesn't light you up, it won't light us up. So if it lights you up, makes you laugh, makes you giggle, touches your heart, that would be great. Then what would be of interest to us? Again, that's not so important for this. This is just really practicing. And then ask yourself, what's the lesson that you've learned? So sort of what's the point of your story? It's always good to have a point at some point, right? And then the last piece of coaching I'm going to give you is just begin by telling the story. So, that whole once upon a time, that draws people in, and start writing your story. So you can skip I'm going to tell you a story about a time, blah, 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 blah. So so there I was. You know those books in the library? So there I was, the Boston Tea Party. You know what I mean? That I was there. You ever see those books in the library? I was there. And so they take you right there. They don't say, I'm going to tell you a story about a time when I went to the Boston Tea Party and I was, and they threw the tea over the, right? So take us right there, wherever it is. And so I'll coach you to do that. That is the absolutely most riveting, and we as an audience don't need much setup. We get stories, we can tune right in. So who here has a question about the assignment? How about this? Why don't you take a minute or two, and you can do it alone or you can do it with a partner, and just talk about what your idea might be. So this is a little prep time for you. Sound good? And if you want to call me over, please do. I'm going to add one other piece to this, is that when you come up, if you give us the story behind your name. So, for instance, my name is Tara Marcus. I don't have a middle name, even though I said it was Shannon. That's actually my confirmation name. I really gave it to myself. I am the last child in a family of 8, so I think by the time my parents got to me, they were like, give her a first name, we know what the last name is, and let's keep going. So sort of that's the story behind my name. And so one way you can actually start your presentation, and it's a way for us to get to know each other, is to tell the story behind your name. Okay? All right. A lot of times before folks get up to speak, can tend to be a little nervous. Nervous. You get jitters, right, in your stomach, that kind of thing. You get a little nervous. How about we do a little bit of a warm-up activity, just to sort of get any stress that we have out and just relax. You guys up and okay for that? Christy said you were hip and happen in group, so I was sort of prepared for that.
I'm the only one falling asleep. It's been a long week. Ever let your assistant go on vacation?
All right, so here's how we'll do it. Are you familiar with the song "My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean"? All right, so let's sing that a little bit together, just to make sure, because chances are you haven't. Rachel, do you know that one? Yeah. Oh, you're in for a treat. It is rocking. It is rocking the charts right now. I don't know where you've been, but you'll catch on. All right, ready? And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. And you can sway if you want. My Bonnie lies over the sea. And you miss her, or him, whatever. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. So bring back my Bonnie to me. We'll keep going because you need the whole song. Bring back, oh, bring back my Bonnie to me, to me. Bring back, oh, bring back my Bonnie to me. Anybody here watch the King's Speech? Movie The King's Speech, right? What was he able to do when he sang?
Not stutter.
Yeah, not stutter. So singing actually helps relax us. So we're going to add not only the singing. Rachel, you got that? You got the words? You think you got it? Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to add a little physicalness to it, okay? You up for that? We just ate. We got to get the blood moving. So if you can, you just need to have access to your chair, okay? So you want to put anything eaten or anything down. Put anything in your lap that's down. You want to push back. You want to be able to stand up and sit down. That's all you need to do. So make sure you're able to do that comfortably and safely without knocking your knee on the table. All right, so we're going to sing the song, except anytime we hear a word that starts with the letter B, we're going to either stand up or sit down. So here it goes. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. My Bonnie lies over the sea. Get it? All right, and so whenever there's a B, that's the change. You guys look like you could do this. All right, let's start. All right, so, all right, ready? We got to sing really loud and really robust, all right? Ready? My Bonnie lies over the ocean. Louder! My Bonnie lies over the sea. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. Are you up for this? So bring back my Bonnie to me. Bring back, oh, bring back my Bonnie to me, to me. Bring back, oh, bring back my Bonnie to me. Woohoo! Give yourselves a hand. Awesome. All right. You guys did awesome. Has anybody here ever jumped out of an airplane? Yes. Parachute. Rachel, what was the story behind that? Yeah.
My bucket list of things to do in life to go skydiving. So I did.
And so how did
I was a lot more fearless. It was a long time ago, but
now did you do it like were you attached to somebody?
Yeah. I had to because I think you have to attach so many times in the air before you do it. You jump by yourself.
Yeah.
So I had someone with me.
And
I got to pull the cord. It was very cool.
And what was the experience like?
It was amazing. It was. You can't even describe it. It's amazing. It feels like, you can conquer the world once you're done. It was such a rush. It was awesome.
Terrific.
It was awesome.
Terrific. Well, how we're going to sort of link that here is when you first, skydive out of a plane, you do a tandem, right?
Yeah.
It's called tandem jumping. You don't do it alone. And so we're not going to have you do anything here alone either. And so what's going to happen is two people are going to come up at a time, and one's going to take center stage, and one's going to be sort of the tandem jumper. And then when one person gets done, then we'll switch, and so you're sort of partners. You're never up here alone. Does that make good sense, right? We also need somebody who will time, because you got about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Anybody interested in timing? This is the amazing iPhone. You can actually play all kinds of games on it while the story gets boring. You can go play Fruit Ninja which is a favorite of my kids. Anybody interested? It's really easy. All you have to do is push start and stop. Anybody a techno gadget? Yeah? Okay, thanks. Michelle, thank you. Everybody give a hand for Michelle. Woo-hoo, thank you. All right, so can we have our first two storytellers? Yeah, Vicki, come on. Yeah? Someone else? Whitney, all right. You want to take, Whitney, since you're here, you okay taking center stage? I'm okay. All right, and Vicki, you okay there? Sure. Now, here's what we're going to do. Since Whitney is brave enough to be the first person, we are going to start the session off with giving her a standing ovation, and then the last person will give a standing ovation. How often in your day do you get to say, what happened today? And you can say, well, I got a standing ovation. Every day. So we want to make... Oh, wow. Then it's no accident you're here, right? All right, so everybody up. We're going to give a standing ovation. Whitney, you got to take it in. Okay, Whitney, start off with your name, the story behind your name.
Okay, my name's Whitney Elizabeth Bayless. That was before Whitney Houston was popular. Elizabeth came from my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. Bayless, that was from my dad. And then my name now is Pruden, and the story behind that is I met this man in college and we got married. My story is that I don't feel that I wasn't raised in New Jersey. So New Jersey has been a life experience for me. And I also found that not everybody's raised the same. So when somebody always tells me to do something, I just do it because that's what I was told to do.
Yeah.
It was instilled in me. Well, now in my job, when I ask someone to do something or I tell someone to do something, I will show them the way to do it, and then I expect them to do it just in that way. And when it doesn't happen and then someone else catches it, I get, why isn't this done right?
Yeah.
And I don't, it's frustrating to me because you have to go back and check and recheck and check and recheck. So that's, I guess, my biggest life lesson right now is just because you tell somebody or ask somebody to do something, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do it. So you need to cross-check.
There you go. All right, Whitney, there you go. Yeah. Excellent, excellent. And it was easy as that. So, Whitney, thank you so much. You jumped right into sort of the story, and you did it with a great smile, very warm. And it's a great advice for us to sort of make sure that we double-check and don't always assume, right? All right, thanks, Whitney. Yeah, you can have a seat, and we'll welcome Vicki up.
Hi, everybody. My name is Vicki Hanfield. I'm
Born Victoria Marie Ann, my confirmation name, Hanfield. Yeah. And they named me Victoria because they wanted to call me Vicki. And in those days, they just didn't do nicknames for birth names. So then I got called Victoria by all the teachers. And that was a little frustrating, but I didn't really care that much. Hanfield comes from my father's family from Rhode Island, originally, probably Canada, maybe England, nobody really knows. We're kind of mongrels. And the other side is all Irish. So I relate to Shannon very much.
Yeah.
My big story is in 2006, I had a stroke. And I was incredibly fortunate. I had absolutely no permanent damage. It was a gigantic wake-up call.
Wow.
Gigantic.
And Vicki, where were you when it happened? Like where?
I woke up at home in the morning and I had blurred vision and couldn't put toothpaste on the toothbrush. So I knew something was wrong, but I just decided to...
And you weren't hungover.
A lot of people wanted to think that.
Yeah.
I went back to bed and I thought, my brain will reboot. I had been having computer problems around that time. Well, I woke up again 45 minutes later and it was really significant and I realized, oh, shit. So I called my friend, Matt, who lives down the street, and then I didn't realize till I got him on the phone that I couldn't talk. And he thought I was playing a joke on him. He thought I was drunk or pretending to be drunk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, hospital.
Wow.
So he came and got me. But long story short, I didn't sustain any permanent damage. So
you
it
can
was
keep going.
a great wake-up call about the importance of health And it made me realize that I actually am a very optimistic person. So I decided, speaking of bucket lists, that I was going to do everything that I had always wanted to do but not gotten around to. And I started out improving my exercise routine. Then I said, I want to learn how to make stained glass, and I want to learn how to play the drums. And I pursued both of them, and they led me to learn a lot about dancing and drumming, and to start my own new business. I've been a psychologist for 30 years, and I started this new business called Get Healthy, Get Happy. And one of the things that I'm learning right now is the importance of self-expression. And that's what appealed to me in the title of this workshop. And the drumming is helping me enormously get in touch with some sources of fear or anxiety or things that make you hold yourself back. Because drumming is very elemental and it's different. I've been a public speaker. I know how to do public speaking. I know I'm going to have nerves, but most people aren't going to notice that. I know I'm going to be fine with that. But connecting at a deeper level inwardly and connecting more rapidly with other people through expression is really vital, both, in every aspect of life, but particularly when you're trying to start a new business. So I'm finding that drumming is introducing me to another world of musicians who are fascinating people and also helping me with my self-expression. So, long story, I'm actually kind of happy that happened. So, thank you.
Thanks, Vicki. Yeah, thank you. It's amazing how often we might hear that from, sort of breakdown comes breakthrough. So when something actually is not such, on the surface, is not such a good thing, and then good things happen after it, I'm sure that's not the first time we've heard that, but it's good to hear it when we do. So we need two more jumpers. All right, Grace, yeah. And partner for Grace?
I'll go with that.
All right, Steve, yeah.
Single-syllable middle name. But my story also ties into the fact that my name is Grace. I have a twin sister named Faith. So Faith and Grace. Aww. Needless to say, our parents were very, very, very religious. And so we spent an overwhelming majority of our time as youngsters at church. And I shouldn't say overwhelming majority, but it was a lot of time, 3-4 times a week, conservatively. My parents did a lot of missionary work and things like that, so that was very, very important to them. Well, my sister and I, because we were little, and because our names were Faith and Grace, and we were always in a church environment, inevitably, if it happened once a week, it was 2 or 3 times a week, that somebody would say, oh, faith, hope, and charity. What happened to hope? What happened to charity? This type of thing. So we decided that by the time we were about 7 years old, we had to come up with a response to this. So we decided to say that my name had actually been Hope at the time of my birth, but that my parents had changed it because my maiden name was Rhodes. So it was Hope Rhodes. It was just too many O's. But the point of doing that would be to say that we were triplets, that it was Faith, Hope, and Charity, and that the other one had died. And because of this, I know, how horrible is this? But because of this, my parents changed my name from Hope to Grace, so it wasn't as painful for them. Yes, yeah. And you have to understand, the mind of a 6-7-year-old, when somebody has for the umpteenth time said, what happened to Faith, Hope, and Charity? You're like, all right, just enough is enough. So we decide to do this. It works out fine. Everybody, anytime somebody says it, they just immediately, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Except for the one afternoon that one of the older ladies in the church, had done that. Of course, we gave our canned response. And she went up to my mom after the services. And she just says, Ruthie, oh my gosh. She goes, it is all my fault if the twins are all upset this afternoon. It is all my fault. I had no idea. And my mother, of course, is, what?
Yeah.
And she says, well, you know, they told me, I didn't realize, you know, that there had been the third and that she passed away. And my mother just said, oh, those girls, there was not a third. So of course, in the car ride on the way home, we get to speaking to about not lying in church about the fact that there really was another baby that died, and that's why my name was Grace.
And so, so Grace, what's the lesson out of that? That you
Do not lie to Lady Arnett at church. She will just call you out.
All right, amen.
My name is Steve Keefe. I don't really know how I got my name. I can tell you that the literal meaning of Steve is the crowned one or the king of kings. And I don't know if that's coincidence or not, but I'm just going to go with it.
Yes, sure.
So that's the reason why. I guess that my parents had some pretty good aspirations for me. I am the director of sales for a solar installation company. And I guess my lesson is kind of, it's not as amusing as some of the ones we've heard, but it's more a lesson, I guess, more for business etiquette.
Yeah, just
particularly,
jump right into it.
yeah,
Steve.
particularly on the sales end. I guess when I first got into sales, it was about 3 years ago with solar. I would approach clients with what I thought was the biggest benefits to them. Being young, money was always on my mind, and I thought that the economical advantages to solar energy was what people should hear about. And of course, when I did my research, I knew about the environmental benefits, and that's really one of the biggest reasons why I got involved. But that kind of took a back seat, and I thought that the pressing issue was, the return on the investment that it offers and all of that. It wasn't until I started meeting with more and more prospective clients that they would say, well, what about the environmental benefits? And it was kind of a paradigm shift at that point. And I said, it's not really about what I think are the benefits.
Yeah.
It's really about what your clients are looking for. And you need to make sure that you identify what their needs are and approach it from that perspective. And that's kind of the road I've taken, and it seemed to work out to my advantage.
Yeah.
So.
What amazing, Steve, because imagine somebody else coming up behind you in your sales organization, and then you telling them that story.
Yeah.
That's the power of stories teaching, and that's the power of sort of creating a company culture and sort of making sure that the intellectual capital doesn't get lost. And how it doesn't get lost is exactly, Stephen, the type of story, in that exact story. So, home run. Yeah. A little, two more jumpers. All right, Ryan and Jim.
Wait for my wingman to show up.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Good?
Yeah, it's all you.
So my name is not Rocco Machina, as my father had desired when I was born, and thank God for Ryan O'Neal, who was a aspiring or actually famous actor in 1977. Yeah. So my father had naming rights to my older brother Michael, and my mother pulled the trump card and said, no, I'm not going to name him that. We're going to name him Ryan. My father thankfully obliged to my mother's wishes.
Did he ever call you Rocco just one-on-one?
No, but when we were playing baseball, he would coach me as a child, and whenever I was a catcher, and somehow or another he started calling me Rocco or Rock. I have no resemblance at all, figuratively, to a Rocky or a Rocco, but somehow he did, and the teammates did. So, but it was a short-lived experience.
Yeah.
So, all right. So in 2006, I met the greatest woman on the face of the earth, and it's my wife today. And
I'm just going to freeze him right there, all right? This is the power of storytelling. How many of us can't wait to hear what he says next? Right? I mean, that is the power of, that is once upon a time in modern day. So I'm just going to encourage you to not just use it personally, but to make sure that you're using that in business. But go ahead, I'm going to unfreeze you. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks.
And it was, to this day, it's like it was yesterday. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that, meeting your significant other if you're married. And for me, the the cute story or the amazing story that I experienced was how I got my wife to buy into me. Because the first date we had, I was in. I knew she was the one. Wow. I got on the turnpike and I was excited and amped up, ready to go. And then we started our friendship, which kind of evolved into a semi-quasi courtship. And I guess about 3 months into it, we were on the phone one night. She's in North Jersey. I'm from South Jersey. And I just asked her point blank. I said, "How do you feel about this relationship?" And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm all in. I said, I think it's great. I see us progressing to the next level. What do you think? And she, the friend zone came out. And she said, well, I think you're nice. I enjoy your company and this and that. And she said, I don't know if I'm where you are. So, make a long story a little bit shorter. The next day I'm in church, I go up to one of my ministers, I said, look, I got put in the friend zone last night by this girl who I really like. I said, she said, well, what did she say? I said, well, she says I call too much. She says I text her too much, and I'm too much in her personal space, which I was, but I felt like she liked it. And he said, well, stop calling her. And I said, all right. I said, just stop. I said, I don't want to play games. He said, just don't call her right now. Yeah. She needs her space. It was Sunday, so I didn't call her Sunday. I didn't call her Monday morning. Usually I would text her. She would text me in the morning. And then around Monday, around 11 a.m., I get a text message from her, and I don't respond. And I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying this is what worked for me.
Were your fingers switching not to respond?
Oh, yeah. No. But part of me was like, yeah, okay. You can text me, right? And then around 1, she called, but I didn't answer the phone. So I had nothing else to do. So then around 4 o'clock, she texted me again and said, are you all right? So I called her when I got home from work. And when she picked up the phone, it was like a different person was there. It was a different person. And then from that point on, it was sealed.
Yeah.
The lesson of the story?
Yeah.
Maybe people can't appreciate or assign value to something that it's in front of them until it's gone, or temporarily gone.
There you go, Ron.
Oh, I made it up. Good.
Fantastic. Now, I'm going to freeze you right there. A lot of times when we're asked to make a presentation in front of our department or a conference at any type of thing, what happens is you see Ryan's face when he was telling that story. It was alive. We were right there with him, right? And then a lot of times when it switched to quote, quote, business, what happens? Right? That here's my PowerPoint presentation. What I'd like to go over is the top 3 things, the reasons why, and then what happens to the rest of us in the room? Anybody here a fan of hospital shows? Like, love hospital shows? Yeah, House, or, and any of those hospital shows, what is like the most dramatic, moment in those hospital shows? The patient's lying on the gurney. What do they cut to? The screen. The screen that's going like this. And when it's going like that, good, right? And then what happens? Flatline. Yeah, flatline. Exactly. Right? Oh my God, that's the drama. Guess what most of us do in business settings? Most of the time. We are terrific flatliners. My, aren't we interesting? Don't people want to invite us back again? How memorable are we? Right? Flatlining. Use the power of stories so that people know that, we're still alive. Our heart's still beating. We're still breathing. So, take it away, Jim.
My name is Jim Hart, and the way that I was named was very traditional, Irish Catholic background, and when I was the first grandchild on my dad's side of the family. So, and my dad didn't want to name me after himself. So his name was Michael, his father was Michael, and my other grandfather on my mom's side was James. So he just reversed the names, and I'm James Michael Hart, named after both of my grandfathers. And they were fantastic men, and I'm proud to be named after them.
Terrific.
Recently, I have a 7- and a 4-year-old daughter, and 2 years ago, my daughter wanted to take the training wheels off of her bike. So me being the technical, have to be, you know, like, how am I going to explain to her the physics of the revolving wheel and how the pedals are going to actuate the wheel and she's going to move down the street safely? So I didn't know how to do this. I've never taught anybody how to ride a bike. So I did the traditional thing. I took the training wheels off and I said, let's go into the backyard where it's not asphalt or concrete, it's soft moss in my wooded neighborhood. And I said, let me just, you know, push her and hold her and let her get the feeling of it. And I realized that her main concern was not riding the bike, but am I holding her? So something clicked and I yelled at my wife and I said, get the video camera. We're gonna do this. I know she can do this. So across the yard 2 or 3 times, gave her the confidence that I was holding on. We're moving back and forth across the yard safely. So I knew she could ride. I could feel it by holding her. Yeah. So I simply ran alongside, said the same things that I had been saying, had my wife videotape the fact that I wasn't holding her. Said, come on, Em, I want to show you something. My daughter's name is Emily. I said, turn the screen around and look at this. And her eyes blew up and said, I did it. And that was it. We were out to the street. She never fell on her bike. She's been riding her bike ever since. And since 7 years old, she's on her 3rd bike. So you don't have to kind of worry about the you know, I'm a technical guy. Sometimes it's just about, you know, showing someone that they can do it. And Emily just needed to see that she could do it. And it worked for us.
Wow, Jim,
So,
powerful. Woo.
Thanks.
Powerful. All right, 2 more people. Wow. Good stuff, huh? Like everybody's different. Everybody's got different. Yeah, even though Rachel's actually the only one in the class who's jumped out of a plane, she still needs a wingman. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, first, my name actually is very special to me. I'm a 4th generation Rachel. My name's Rachel Carmela, and me, my mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother were all Rachel C. So my name, you know, means a lot to me. I did not name my daughter Rachel. I named her Carmela Rachel. So Carmela was a great-great-grandmother of mine, so the name still is in the family. Actually, having the same name as your mom is a lot more complicated than it seems because you're not technically a junior, so it really did run into a lot of problems. But I am a new parent. I have a 6-month-old daughter, Carmela Rachel, who is, she is just the love of my life, and my husband's. But I've started a whole new, very different, exciting, exhausting, fulfilling chapter of my life, being a new parent. And I've learned more from this tiny little creature than I could ever imagine you could learn from something. And the biggest thing I've learned, I guess, is how to roll with the punches. My life is not my time or my husband's time anymore. It's really all about her time, and that's okay. It took me a while to realize that. You know, everyone told me when you become a new parent that, you know, your life is not your own anymore. Oh, good luck and get your sleep now. And it didn't hit me like a ton of bricks when we first had her, because everything's still very new and exciting. But you try to get into a routine just for your sanity, at least for my sanity, and there is no routine. As soon as you get into a routine, she changes your routine, but that's okay. And I've learned that from her, that you got to roll with the punches, and that happens in my personal and my professional life. You know, you deal with what's on your plate right now, and that's okay to do that. Life is going to hit you with a million things at once, and you just learn from it, you know. And like I said, I've learned more from this tiny little creature already, and she's only 6 months, about myself, about other people, than I ever expected to imagine. So I'm very excited for, you know, the next 6 months, and then the next 6 months after that.
That's terrific.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Vicky, please.
Michelle, I grew up in a small town. There were 14 kids in my kindergarten class and 20 in my 8th grade class. I'm the youngest of 5, and it was whittled down to a list of names. My mother went to the hospital, and I was born on July 19th. There was a little girl who also lived in my town who was born on July 16th. The first name on the list was Jennifer, and that's what her mother named her. And so my mother determined that she didn't want two Jennifers in this tiny little town school, so she went to the next name. So that's why I'm Michelle. And Madeline is my grandmother's name. Clayton was my maiden name, and Taylor is my married name. So that's my name. The story I'm going to tell is about my first job, and I shouldn't have done that.
That's fine.
First mistake. I was a senior in high school. I was 17 years old, and I wrote in my yearbook that I wanted to be an environmental planner. And a young guy who was a junior, a friend of mine, said, "Oh, you want to be an environmental planner? That's what my dad does." And so at an awards banquet my senior year for academics, he introduced me to his dad. And he said, "Dad, this is Michelle Taylor. She wants to be an environmental planner." And he said to me, "Well, when you get out for spring break, call me and I'll interview you, and we'll see if we can maybe find a place for you in the company." And so spring break happened, and I had my interview, and he hired me, and I worked there for 2 summers. It was an environmental planning company. And what ended up happening was that I worked there for quite some time, and I learned that really it's not about always what you know, because I didn't know much. I was only 17. It's also who you know, and that's a lot of how we make our connections, all of us, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny how that's not taught in college, or it's not necessarily like spoken anywhere. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for reminding me of that lesson learned. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, I know for me, I did an internship at WCAU Channel 10 when I was in college. And I don't know if you remember him. His name was Herb Denenberg. He was the investigative consumer reporter. And so we were investigating, believe it or not, the funeral industry. And we had to go undercover. They had I guess it was the FDA had come out with new regulations for funeral parlors, that you actually had to give a price list of how much things cost. You just couldn't use up all the money that the people coming to you had. So we went undercover. It was an amazing experience, but what I missed out on was I never networked beyond my little position there. I never asked a producer to go to lunch. I never knew to do that. And so, Michelle, if I would have had somebody share that story with me about take advantage, network while you're there, and that never happened. But what a powerful lesson learned to know to do that, and to tell other folks who are sort of rising in the ranks to do that as well. Yeah.
So you went to the funeral homes as family members or
we had the undercover camera in a pocketbook.
Yeah.
Steve, you might know, it went through a netting, and the producer of this particular segment was funny as heck. And so he was making fun of the caskets and making me laugh. And when you can't laugh, you really want to laugh. Yeah. I'm supposed to be sad. And he was just cracking jokes. And that was the hardest thing about the assignment, was not to laugh. And it turned out the funeral director was a really nice person and was sort of abiding by everything. But anyway. All right, so we have 2 more folks who want to come up. 2 more? Yeah? This is not a have-to. This is not a have-to, so I don't want anybody to feel any kind of pressure. You can sit, you can lean, whatever you want to do, whatever is comfortable.
Nice. My name is Debbie. I really don't know why I have that name. Maybe Deborah Carr was, an actress way back when, something my dad wanted. I don't know, but that's what I'm with. So. Okay. I like to travel. Back in January, I went to Amsterdam and to Brussels. Sometimes at work, obviously, I work with a younger crowd. I get a bit of teasing for always taking off, maybe taking a trip once or twice a year. They're younger people, so they complain about bills and money and everything. So they may look at my travel as something extravagant. I think I need to sing.
Great.
Just read it.
Okay,
that's great that you tell yourself. Absolutely.
I can feel myself going. So of course, like I said, they're younger people. They're coming in. They're complaining of bills, invoices, things that they have to do, money. But yet they're coming in with their new cell phones and tattoos and all this extravagant things they want to put on their cars. So I'm thinking, And one of the things that my family always used to say is, you can't tell other people how to spend their money. So as much as maybe I look at their expenses, they're looking at my expenses. Yeah. It's their choices. And I think that's really the bottom line, is that it is all about choices. So I try to coach my younger employees that, sometimes if you want to do something, you do have the money to do it. You just need to make that choice. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, Debbie, I think you can also, what? You did great. I think Debbie needs a hand.
But you know what? We can't tell necessarily until you say it.
So I think like the way,
Oh my God, I can
well,
feel
that's
my
okay.
voice.
I speak publicly all the time, and I know that I still get nervous when I get up and speak, but most of the time the only person who would notice is my husband.
I think it is. I can feel the breath, and I think I'm getting to that point where I'm like, I think you just need to.
It seemed flawless. I mean, it
Yeah.
seemed like completely.
You guys are just really
Seriously, people don't recognize it.
I did.
My name is Andrea Jacqueline Torrey Brown. The Andrea comes from my father. When I came along, we had a lot of Anns in my dad's family. And my mom's like, no, I'm not naming one other person Ann. So let's take, his initials were AJT. So she said, let's make it Andrea instead of Andrew, which was his name. His middle name was Joseph. They couldn't find anything for a J, so it's Jacqueline. Torrey is their name from my father, Italian, French descent. And then I met my husband, Scott, and that's where I became an American with the Brown. I became German and Irish. And my story is something that I learned about. It's kind of, I thought of it when you first did this, and I thought it was a little selfish, but yet at the same time, it tells a story of what I do. I'm a photographer, so all I do is tell stories. But I didn't realize how important that was in people's lives until my father had passed away 2 years ago, and I had gotten to the point where you're not sure, can I take over? Can I fill his shoes? Can I do this? Can I really do this? And I had
was he a photographer as well?
Yes, he was in the business for 50 years. And I had learned through him and with him, and I went to training, different things. Excuse me. I do get a little choked up with that. But I had an older gentleman come in. He was in his 70s. And he came into our studio and he said, your father did our wedding photographs 50 years ago. I'm like, okay. We never got our album. Okay. He said, I am not sure whether you would still have the negatives or not, but he brought, at the time we were doing proofs, which if you held them into light like this, they would fade like immediately. It was old time, black and white, big 5x7 negatives, and they were almost like x-ray films. And that's how it was done back then. And I said, well, what does she look like? Brought in a sample. My husband, we have stored all these negatives for years in our attic. So my husband went up, and it took 2 weeks, couldn't find the negatives. Searched high and low. I said, don't give up, I have a feeling. Go up and look again. He finally found them. We were able to produce a wedding album for him 50 years later. That was like incredible. And I do wish I could have been a fly on the wall to see what his wife thought of it. But it attested, the lesson I learned was, because I was thinking about maybe I can't do this, or maybe what I do is not important to people, that showed me that I'm supposed to be here and do this and make that important for people. So
Andrew, what a
that's
beautiful
my story.
story. Beautiful name, a beautiful story, my father passed away a few years ago, and I got to speak at his funeral. And that was pretty amazing to me, because I'm the baby in my family. And so anybody else here the baby in their family? Right? And so how does the baby sort of perceived? What do you mean 12? Like, oh yeah, you're 12 forever. Yes, right? Did you hear those stories? I can't really respect you. I used to change your diapers. All of that, being the baby. And so that they asked me to speak at my dad's wedding. Yeah, that would have been interesting. At my dad's funeral was really touched me, because I got to speak about and tell stories about this man that I loved, and who was an amazing just an amazing individual. And one of the things I love about doing what I do, like about communication and about helping people find their voice, is that so that we can say yes to personal opportunities that come up like that, and that we're ready to actually do it and maybe do it well and give it some justice, or in business where communication is absolutely everything, even though more and more we're sort of, hiding behind email or Twittering and things like that. It is still extremely important for us to be able to connect one-on-one and to make those connections and to, that still, and I think will always be how business gets done, is that people care about you, you care about other people. That is absolutely, a winning formula. And so I am so passionate about people finding their voice. And one of the things that sometimes will stop me, at least in my mind, is my husband, Evan, and I own this company together. He is a way better storyteller than I am. He's a way better speaker than I am, which makes me what sometimes? What do you think it does? Makes me feel intimidated, makes me pull back, maybe makes me not want to do it. And let's say you do it. But the truth is we all have a voice. Do you know what I mean? And I have to remind myself that my message isn't his message isn't mine, and he might be actually better at it, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't be doing it anyway. And that's what I want to offer you, is wherever level you're at, where you feel very confident or you feel scared or you feel maybe my message isn't what it needs to be. And I just really encourage, myself and all of you is to, don't say no. Say yes to opportunities, say yes to connecting with people. It is absolutely sort of where we, I think life is, right? Where life is. So a few more people to speak. I think we're sort of getting down to the last one or two. Yeah? Yeah, I think we have 3 more left. Yeah? Or Christy, too, you going to speak today? Yeah, sure. So we have 4 more folks left. So who's jumping? All right, so Elizabeth, great, and then Pete.
Wing it. I have 5 different stories in my head, wondering which one I'll tell you, and it's all me and everybody I work with and anybody I've ever interacted with. My name is Elizabeth Hoke. Hoke is my married name. Elizabeth, my mother chose it because she used to like Elizabeth Taylor, and she didn't know a lot of American names, so she decided to name me Elizabeth. All of my siblings are named after movie stars, and she got kind of tired and didn't know where else to go, so all of us have the middle name that starts with an A. And I'm like, what came about that? And she's like, I found the book. Your father read it to me, and I just chose. And I'm like, okay. So that's my story with my name. Nothing very funny about it. I was just trying to think, how do I connect? When I first started in my job, I used to watch the woman next to me, and I would watch and see how she related with her customers. And I'm like, wow, you are really good. And I said, everybody sincerely likes you. I said, how do you do that? I said, I feel very uncomfortable. And because you're much older than I am, and I'm much younger, nobody wanted me to service them, or they wanted because she had the experience. So what I had learned was, if I could connect with every person that sat in front of me, whether it be through fishing, men like fishing, sports I still can't come about, family relations, what child are you in the family, are you illness in the family, birth in the family, animals. I found that if I was able to connect one way with each person, I would remember them because I'm terrible with names, and they could relate to me. So I'll meet people 10 years later, and they're like, oh, Liz, how you doing? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I have no idea who your name is. But then I remember back from the face a situation that could have been something I could have helped them out financially. And I'm like, oh, how's your daughter in college? Did she graduate yet? Or they could have been pregnant, and I was helping them financially with getting a home or something of that nature. I'll never remember anybody's name. I am bad at that, but I remember every situation with every customer.
Thanks, Liz. Absolutely. Unless you're going to stay up just to give Joe a little
My name is not Nunzio, although it should be.
Similar to Jim, I grew up not Irish Catholic, but Italian Catholic, so I should have been named after my grandfather, who was nuncio. And back in 1961, when my parents got married, obey was still in the marriage vows for the wives only. And my mother made a very bold move and decided to buck tradition and not name me nuncio. So I was named after my father, which was Pete. My middle name is Anthony, since that started with my dad also. He was born near the feast of St. Anthony, so Peter Anthony. I don't think I look like a nuncio, so I'm kind of cool with that.
And are you grateful to your mother?
I am. I'm very grateful. I don't know if she just hated her mother-in-law and wanted to annoy her, or if she just didn't like the name.
Yeah.
Either way, it worked out well for me.
Yeah.
I have 2 small kids at home, and there's always lots of fun situations. They're 7 and 9. And about a year ago, I'm sitting at home, and I work a lot of weird hours. I have clients that always have problems, so I'm constantly working strange hours to accommodate all that. Sometimes weeks are really busy, and I'm working nights and days and everything. So at one point, my son comes over to me, and he sits down next to me and says, "Dad, you're really working a lot. Can we schedule something to do? Can we just go have fun? Go see a movie, go play basketball or something?" Sure. A little while later, my daughter comes over to me, a couple hours later, and she flops down on the ottoman in front of me. It's like, "Dad, you don't love me anymore." Okay. So, there's some differences between the way the male mind and the female mind works. And about 15 minutes into the conversation with my daughter, I finally get out of her that she misses me, and I haven't been around a lot, and she wants to do some stuff with me. So, kind of calmed her down and assured her that we would schedule a daddy-daughter day, just like I had done, Father's Sunday with my son.
Yeah.
And everyone was happy. So, lesson learned. Male and female minds, even miniature form, don't process things the same way. And no matter how busy I get, I need to schedule time with my kids.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Yeah. All right. We have our last 2. We're doing great.
My name is Ann Wilson. I don't really have any significance between my first name was going to be Ann, Alma, Patricia. It's going to be Alma for my grandmother, and I think my father's mother. I think my mother didn't want that, so I ended up being Ann for no reason whatsoever. I want to talk about back in 1998, due to a really extreme financial situation that I was in at the time, I had to get a job, and I had to get it really fast. I didn't have the luxury of looking for my background, the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I work at a wireless company.
A wireless company?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking a position because they were really interested in me in the retail segment, working in the stores. I was like, oh God, I have to take it. I need the benefits.
Yeah.
I just dreaded it. Well, from the first day, I was extremely surprised. I started to have fun. You had to stay in the position for 1 year, and then you could post anywhere in the company.
And what was fun about the position? What did you like about it?
I had never worked in retail. I always worked corporate marketing,
Yeah.
and I just really needed a job desperately.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait 6 months or whatever to find the dream job.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started, it was just the people, the customers. It was a relief that it was so much fun. So after coming up about 10 months, my husband says, well, 12 months is coming up. Are you going to start posting? Yeah, I'll get around to it. I ended up staying for 2.5 years in that position and moved on to corporate sales. I guess what I've learned was you're always looking for the perfect job of what you think you really like. My husband said, well, you're never go back into marketing again. I said, not really. I really, really like corporate sales.
Yeah.
And when you hear the kids graduated from college and things like that, they complain, oh, I want this is what I'm really looking for. I guess sometimes you really don't know what you think you want may not be what really would be best for you.
Yes. Yeah, could be surprising.
I probably wouldn't have the position I have now if I wasn't in the financial situation back 12 years ago.
Yeah, breakdown comes breakthrough, right? Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Ann. Thanks so much for sharing that. Yeah, terrific job.
So I usually don't get to say my name because everybody knows me because my picture's everywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm Christy Halaketta. My mother wanted a boy. I was supposed to be Stephen Michael, so you would think Stephanie Michelle. So we really don't know where the Christy came from. She just says you were supposed to be Stephen Michael, and when they handed me, I said, holy shit. So, because 38 years later, she's still not really sure that she could handle a baby girl. So here I am. The Howell is my mother's name. My grandfather's name means a lot to me, which is why I kept it when I got married. The Ikeda belongs to an ex-husband, which one day I need to, which I'm hoping that the new man in my life will change very shortly. So if you know him and you see him, you know, I am proactively marketing for a name change these days. Although we wins for the best Valentine's Day present ever. But you know, as I'm sitting here and listening to everybody, and you're all here, and I get to provide this great program for all of you with Tara about learning how to speak and speak publicly, and I'm very blessed. I speak publicly a lot. I've always done it. I've always been the mouth of the family. And sitting here listening to all of you, I realized how really blessed I am, because I am the one that gets chosen at every family occasion, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, to say a few words. And I have gotten to express my feelings and my love for my family members on more times than I can count. And just sitting here listening to everybody, I realize today how very blessed I am. Sometimes I think when I'm asked to write a speech or to do something, I think, oh, can't anybody else do this? Really? But really how very blessed I am that I get to tell all of them and not wait until a funeral or something else to really say how I feel about them. But every special occasion, birthday, holiday, things like that, I get picked by my family to express the sentiment of all the family, and that's a really great thing to be able to do. So I guess my lesson is that I am very lucky that I am who I am, and that I was able to, and that God gave me this gift to be able to talk and to be able to express myself and be able to do this and share with everybody. So.
All right, thanks, Christy. Yeah. That's everybody, right? Let's talk about our take-home pay from this session, right? Because we all come to these sessions wanting to have things of value that we can bring home and actually apply, or bring back to the office and apply. So, first of all, history of your name. Where can you use that other than here? Having people introduce themselves, saying the story of their names. Yeah, please. Yeah, networking events. So Andrea and I might meet each other, and we each might say each other's, say our names, and so a follow-up question could be, what's the story behind your name, right? Why is that such a great technique? Not even technique, but thing to do. People love to speak about themselves. It disarms them.
It's easy.
It's easy. It's not a threatening question like, what do you do? And, that may, that first question may put you off a little bit. Yeah, Vicki?
It helps you remember their name.
Absolutely helps you remember their name. And so, yeah.
Connect with them on a business level.
Definitely on a personal level. So definitely steal that from today. What's the story behind your name? If you are leading a departmental meeting and you've got some new members and most of the people know each other, but some don't, and you're thinking, how can I make sure that everybody knows everybody in the room? An interesting way to do it is just to say, when it's your time to speak, just add what's the story behind, say your name and what's the story behind your name. And you can do that sort of on a rolling basis, or just have everybody go around. It's a quick, easy, takes 5-10 minutes. It creates a lot of intimacy and a feeling of, I know who that person is a little bit better than I did. So feel free to steal that. Storytelling. Where can we use storytelling in business? Because that's why we're here. It's for business. Where are some places where we can use them? Yeah, public speaking. Yep. Can always open.
Sales pitch.
Yeah, sales pitch. What a great way to open up a sales pitch is to start with a testimonial about somebody who's been using solar energy. Right? Mentoring. How would you use it in a mentoring way?
To teach somebody young a lesson, to talk about some experience that you have and they might benefit from.
Yeah, absolutely. And we heard a couple of them today. Right? We don't always like to be told what to do we? Right? I mean, generally speaking, most people have their own way of doing it, and when you tell somebody how to do it, there's a little bit of a, isn't there, like a kind of a shake off, Don't tell me what to do. I notice it with my kids. Like if I sort of think I can share some of my wisdom with them, if there's like a, going on. But if I tell a story of when I was a kid, I tell my son when I was a kid, I was in the spelling I was one of the finalists in the spelling contest in my elementary school, and they gave me the word salmon, and I didn't know salmon had an L in it. You know, S-A-M-O-N, salmon. Do you know what I mean? And I'll never forget salmon has an L in it. And so I talked to him about spelling and the importance of spelling, and he's way more wide open to that. How else in business can we use storytelling? Yeah, coaching. Yep. How about you want to create a sales culture? You want to create a customer service, a culture of customer service. Whitney, how do you do that?
That's what I was going to say. A lot of times I feel like my customers will trust me more because I've connected with them on like another level outside of banking. They think that I'm really concerned about them. Like one of my customers now, he came in, he has like a lot of money, and he was like, oh, his name is something, he's Jewish though. Well, my mom's older, so clearly she's Jewish. And
yes.
So then he was like, oh, really? And you know, I noticed a lot, especially in New Jersey, Ohio, it's not as diverse, but in New Jersey, races, nationalities, like they stick together, you know, so like as soon as you pick like, oh, you're Jewish too? Oh, okay, well then I'm going to deal with you.
They call it Jewish geography, yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So then he wants to only deal with me now because my mom is Jewish and Shalom and, you know.
Person. Yeah.
And Mazel Tov, all of that. So
I've never seen Shalom with a peace sign. Now, I'm married.
That's one of his things.
No, I know, but it's just funny. I've never seen it with that. That's awesome. I love it.
So
yes.
Yeah, so he likes me because of that. And then other people, they know I'm from Ohio. I love Ohio State. So, you know, they'll be like, oh, I saw Ohio State. They won last night, in case you guys were wondering. But, you know, I have customers come in and say, like, oh, I saw Ohio State won last night. But then my least favorite customers that are on, like, my top 10 will say, you saw they lost to Wisconsin. I'm like, I didn't see that. So I think sometimes it creates, like, a personal touch to people because I have one teller, he always, like, he calls this one lady Rhonda with the Honda. Like, he always makes, she drives the Honda.
Yes, yes.
She comes through the drive-thru, and the customers love him. Like, everybody, he's not at Burlington Township anymore. Everybody's like, where's Leo? Because, they used to come, he knows everything about them.
Yeah.
And he always creates, like, a mutual bond. They know he's Leo, and he loves every Philadelphia sports team, and he knows Rhonda with the Honda. Or this one guy orders 50-cent pieces from us all the time, and he calls them 50 cents. Like, and he gets a crack up out of that, and then they're always like, wait, the rapper or the customer? So I think that it creates, especially in a business setting, and somebody that you're trying to do business with, I feel like it creates, like you mesh more because you have a common denominator in your relationship or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all hear those companies, we want to be the provider of choice in, you name it, fill it in, right? How boring is that and how inspiring is that? But if you want to create a culture of service, a culture of sales, whatever it is, if you're telling stories, I fly on Spirit Airlines a lot. I'm a huge fan of the $9 airfares with a family of 5, who have grandparents in Florida. We need to keep an eye out for $9 airfares. And so we recently took a trip to Florida. We're in Atlantic City Airport, and we were done checking in, except my husband had forgotten the car seats. And so the woman behind the counter said, go get them, and when you come back and see me. So he goes out, gets the car seats, comes back in. Now he's walking in. If anybody has ever been to Atlantic City Airport, it's little. Like you can, I don't want to say spit from one end to the other, but it's little. You can put your arms out from one end to the other. And so in comes my husband Evan with the 2 car seats, and the woman behind the counter looks up. She's dealing with somebody else now. And she goes, Evan, over here. Now, where in an airport, anywhere, do you ever hear, 1, she used his name, 2, she saw that he was coming in, 3, she's waving him down. I mean, talk about, how do you, if you want to breed a service of culture, a culture of service, stories, man, where it's at, right? So did I convince you, or were you already convinced before you even got here? Both. Right? Both. Okay, good thing. Yes?
I would ask, because I get to see a lot of people speak, so I just want to wrap up. I want to ask Vicki a question. Vicki did a really good presentation for us back in October or November And we had Vicky do have a happy, healthy holiday instead of a hassled, harried one. And she came out with tinsel coming out of her dress and bows on her hair and stuff all over the place. And did that make you more comfortable, kind of being in character? Did that kind of help the priest? Because I know you're getting into the new thing. Fun,
I
okay.
thought it would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. I mean, it made me kind of nervous thinking about it.
Okay.
But then as I got into it and I kind of practiced, it became more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to communicate fun.
Because sometimes I feel like if I can do something, because I've probably spoken to every Rotary group from here to Kingdom Come and back and in between, and I find if I kind of can do something, wear a silly hat or do something kind of different, it makes me feel a little bit different about the presentation. So I was just curious if that was part of, kind of your thing, and just kind of to add that to the conversation.
Sure. I mean, in any presentation, if you have a little bit of a sizzle, absolutely fine. You just make sure you got it complemented with some substance, and both are a good thing. So your assignment for the spring, you've got a spring training assignment, just like the Phillies are in spring training. Your assignment is to become more intentional about listening to other people's stories, about paying attention to the stories that you experience, and to actually use them in the business setting. And then I would love to hear from you, like how it's working for you, because I love, then I'll be able to tell stories about the stories. Which reminds me of a closing story. So my son is 8 years old. He loves baseball. He's got baseball tryouts on Saturday. And there's a story about a little boy just like my son who loved baseball as well. And he wanted to be the best batter in all of major leagues. So even when nobody was around, he would get a ball and he would get a bat and he would, he like just had all the confidence in the world. And he'd say, I am the best batter in all of the major leagues. And so he'd throw the ball out, swing, and miss. And he wasn't, kids aren't deterred. It doesn't matter results, initially with kids. They were like, he'd say, I am the best batter in all of major leagues. So he'd throw the ball out, swing, and he missed again. So the next time, still throws the batter up, throws the ball up, swings. You know what he says? I am the best pitcher in all of the league. So I really appreciate the generosity of your listening, the way that you actually took a risk, whatever it took for you to get up and sort of go in this hot seat. Just endorse yourself for that. It takes some guts, and just that you're out playing in the world, absolutely terrific. Thank you so much. It was a gift to meet all of you and to hear your stories. So let's give ourselves a big hand, because we all deserve it.
Let's give her a hand. Before we break up, just a couple of quick things. Tara left Unleashed, which is a catalog of their program offerings. They're on the table when you leave. Also, when you leave, out there are our Lunch and Learn cards with what's coming up, our marketing roundtables with what's coming up, and the February and March events that are coming up too. So be sure to take those. We have, since this was a little bit about presenting, our next one is Howard. I believe our next one is Howard Yermish, or coming up very soon is Howard, and it's effective presentation skills, also kind of known as Death by PowerPoint. So that should be really good too, and should be, thank you. Yes, effective PowerPoint presentations is Howard Yermish, although he's kind of changed the title a little bit. And then we've got sales coming up on April 27th. And for those of you women, you were very lucky because Tara's going to be joining us again this summer. It's either June 2nd or 3rd. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
At our women's conference at the mansion in Voorhees. So again, thank you so much. Tara, do you still do Fast Forward Fridays?
Yeah, we still do Fast Forward Fridays.
Her company does this great thing at the Cherry Hill Library called Fast Forward Fridays. I'm sure if you want to be added to her email distribution, you can give her a business card.
February 25th.
They have some great events they're free of charge, correct?
Free of charge, and it's happening the 25th of this month. Yep.
Great. There's some great things. One of these days I'm actually going to be able to get to one of them, but feel free to give her a card and clue into this. Put her information if you'd like to take it back for your company, for team building and things that are when you leave. So thanks again for coming today, and take some cookies home with you.
For more information, visit DillonMarcus.com. And for information on the Burlington County Chamber of Commerce, visit BCCOC.com or call 856-439-2520. We produce this program in the studios of Professional Podcasts in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, on the web at professionalpodcasts.com. For the Burlington County Chamber of Commerce, this is Steve Lubetkin. Thank you for being with us, and take good care.